Greetings. Welcome to the Maine Accelerates Growth monthly meeting on August 17th, 2023. I'm so grateful to have you all here today. Maine Accelerates Growth is a statewide network of organizations, individuals who support entrepreneurs and innovators to scale in Maine and beyond. We believe that a vibrant, inclusive, innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem will result in a more abundant, equitable, and sustainable economy and make Maine a great place to live, work, and play. So we work together to share expertise, seek best practices, and to address system gaps. We promote the successes of Maine startups and entrepreneur support organizations and collaborate to attract talent and inspire innovation. Our values are to be inclusive, action-oriented, and metric-focused. We think long-term and system-wide and seek more ways to be collaborative. Our monthly meetings highlight the activities of Maine Technology Institute, the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, organizations that support startups and startups in Maine. So I'm the MxG coordinator for MTI, and this is my last meeting hosting. I'm passing off the torch today to Tom Kittredge. And very happy to have served you all for the last 3 years, and looking forward to seeing Tom go forward and bring you guys to the next level. So thank you very much for all this time, and I'll be with you for one more meeting, but Tom is taking over facilitating today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz, and thanks so much for all you've done for MxG over the past few years. You've been such a great coordinator. So to get started, I think we just wanted to create a space for anybody who's either new to the meeting or hasn't been here in a while to just give a brief introduction, just name, organization, maybe where in the state you're based, just to bring everyone up to speed on who you are. So folks can raise their hands or just unmute and pop it in.
Hi, everybody. Jason Harkins. I am the executive dean at the Maine Business School, but excited to have the opportunity to be bringing back Scratchpad Accelerator and am a board member for Upstart Maine, generally located in Orono, but down in Portland at least once a week.
Thanks, Jason. Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Liberatore, and I'm going to be the program manager for Scratchpad Accelerator, and I'm based in Bangor.
Thanks, Lisa. Let me see, Javan Bramer. Oh, it looks like you might be, it doesn't show you muted, but not hearing you. Well, while she's working on that, Jason, you want to go?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jason Mitchell. I'm the program manager for FoodTech with Maine Center for Entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Jason. You want to try again? Still nothing.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Krista Campbell here with the Department of Labor. I work at the Portland and Springville Career Centers as assistant manager. And I see some familiar faces in here working on pulling together a startup job fair coming up, hopefully by the end of the year.
Great, thanks, Krista. Tamika?
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Tamika Francis. I'm presenting this morning and a former fellow with the Root Institute at Northeastern. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And Pat?
Hi, Pat Panaia. I'm the CEO of KinoTek, and I'm also presenting this morning and happy to be here. This is my first meeting.
Great, welcome. Javan Bramer, if you want to, you can post your introduction in the chat if you'd like, if it's not working. Great. Looks like those are all the hands I see. So I think next step is to do the MTI update, which I will be sharing, and then we'll go over to DECD. So just a couple things to share on the MTI front this month. One is that we're actually hiring for a couple of positions. So if you know anybody in your network who might be a good fit, feel free to share the information. The 2 positions we're hiring for are a media manager and funding programs facilitator and an office coordinator. Excuse me. And those positions are both posted on MTI's website and also on Indeed. So you're welcome to go on there, and we'll include those in the notes if you want to share. And then the other thing to note is, so MTI is part of a consortium led by DCD, the Governor's Office of Innovation Policy and the Future, UMaine, the Rue Institute, and a number of others that are applying for the EDA's Tech Hub program. So the Tech Hubs program is a federal economic development initiative designed to drive innovative-centric growth by strengthening a region's capacity to manufacture, commercialize, and deploy economically critical technologies. And Maine's proposal is based around seeking designation as a forest bioproducts advanced manufacturing technology hub. So we're really bringing Maine to the forefront of the nation in terms of developing, manufacturing, and selling innovative climate-forward products derived from forests and other natural sources. So those are the MTI updates. So I'll move on from now to Jake at DCD.
Thanks, Tom. I was actually just going to give kudos to that group too. That Tech Hub is a competitive application, so there'll be 20 places chosen. But what I've heard is that Maine put a lot of effort in, so all of those groups deserve big kudos. The only other update I have, I think it's summer, so we're light on updates right now, is I've mentioned the Maine Space Conference a couple of times, but the early bird discount kind of goes until the middle of September, so it'll be after or before our next meeting. So if you're thinking about registering, now's a good time. Thanks, Tom.
Great, thanks, Jake. So I believe we're going to move on to our first startup presenter, who's Tamika from DutchPot. Tamika, I'll put up a timer for 5 minutes on my screen, but you might not be able to see it if you're sharing your screen. So I'll also just give you a verbal 30 seconds warning. So there's 5 minutes. And then from there, we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A. And if there's anything you didn't touch on, we can try to touch on it during the Q&A. Let me see. So are you looking to share your screen?
I am planning to share my screen. I dropped the link in the chat, but I can also share from here if I have that capability.
Yeah, I believe, Liz, would you make her a co-host? I don't think I have that power.
Tamika, are you able to, I think you can automatically share. It's set for all participants can share.
Okay, I'll try right now. I'll keep trying here on my end. It's asking for password protection, but if not, I'll drop it just to make sure we're not taking space. The slides in the chat for you.
Yeah, that's where it says all participants can.
Still trying on my end. It's asking for setting preferences.
Telling me I need access to that document.
Okay. I'll just do multitask, give you access while also introducing myself so folks are not waiting for us. So while I'm giving access to Liz on my end, I'm Tamika Francis. I'm the co-founder of DutchPot alongside my co-founder, Will Turnage, who is actually in Maine but on vacation today, so will not be able to join us. Before I start my presentation, I do want to share that we finished our year-long fellowship with the Rue Institute in July of last month, a month ago. And so our project right now, while it's on pause, we do want to take the space and this time, and thank you so much for inviting us to present here. And we will definitely be resuming our work on this project for the next 2 months or so. Liz, do you have access?
Let me try one more time. I do.
Sure.
Yeah. I will make you a co-host, but I'm not sure if that'll make a difference because it says that all participants already have access, but let me just try. I'll make you a co-host and see if that makes a difference for you. And just so you know, we're not running the timer when you're having a hard.
No worries.
Yeah. Does that make you able to share?
It does not allow me to share my screen on my end. It says I need to update system preferences to allow for Zoom as a co-host. So I do think
maybe what we can do is we'll, if it's okay with you, Tamika, we'll pop ahead to the next presenter and let you and Liz kind of work on the back end to try to sort this out and then just come back if that's okay.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll keep working on this.
Perfect. Great.
Thanks.
Pat, are you ready?
I can, yeah, let me
Or
give
try.
it,
We'll
oh,
see.
yes, let me try. I just sent it as a backup to Liz, just in case, but let's see here. So I'm going to share my screen. And, you know, I shouldn't show you the end slide first. But, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
All
Yes,
righty.
and I will, I'm gonna start that timer right now. So go ahead.
Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, everybody. I didn't know if my founder, David Holomakoff, might join us, but I am, as I said, Pat Panaia. I am the CEO of KinoTek. I've been the CEO for just a little over a year. And what I want to do is just a few slides to tell you about who KinoTek is, what market we play in, and what our traction has been. The company was started by University of Maine students back in 2017. They were working at the VEMI lab, and they were biomedical engineers and kinesiology students, and they wanted a better way to visualize the human body. And one thing led to another. My background is at IDEX, so heavy dose of diagnostics. And then I was also at Vets First Choice Covetrus, so electronic prescription management platforms and digital product development. And one day I saw an article in the newspaper about KinoTek, and I thought, I'm going to reach out. I might be able to help them. And here I am, the CEO. So let me go through here. Any good startup will have a great problem to solve. And what's the problem? Well, probably if I ask for a raise of hands in this audience, you might say, yeah, I've had a back problem, or I've seen a physical therapist. Well, this musculoskeletal pain is a $420 billion problem in the United States. It's the #1 driver of healthcare costs. And what's the issue? Wear and tear. We're getting older. Issues with obesity, weekend warriors, you name it, but it drives a lot of healthcare spending. But what's the real problem to understand KinoTek is how to measure human movement. And the standard to measure is the squat. And this says, hey, can I reach up? Can I grab something off the top shelf? Can I bend over to pick up my grandchild or pick up something off the floor? But how do we measure it? And here is the astounding fact. The standard of care today is a plastic ruler called a goniometer, and of course, a professional eye. There are other systems out there, but they cost a lot of money. And this shows one of our advisors. This is literally how you use the goniometer. And you have to say, surely there's a better way. And so this team came up with it. And the solution starts with this single LiDAR camera. What is LiDAR? Well, it is like radar, except with light. And it fits in the palm of your hand. I don't know if you can see me, but this is how big it is. And it was a gaming camera from Microsoft. And this will map the room. And there's a lot of sophisticated algorithms and math behind the scenes, 5 years worth. And so KinoTek has cracked the code to measure human movement. You set it up, you do a scan in less than 5 seconds of several movements, and you get 3D visuals, progress over time charts, and a movement health report. And so, like I like to say, we cracked the code. So we're in medical, fitness, and sports markets. We have this fast, easy, objective, comprehensive solution. It's a high margin B2B SaaS model. You buy the camera for $7.99 and it's $225 a month. And for sports teams, and we've gained some traction, as you can tell by the logos off to the side, with some pretty prominent sports teams here in Maine and across the country. And you can analyze and do assessments for an entire team in 15 minutes, and that would have taken you 3 hours prior. This is what our reports look like. It was a game changer. Anyone could understand a scale of 1 to 100 of how I'm doing on my various movements. And every day, we just had a great product update this morning. We're enhancing and getting deeper metrics and analytics to support professionals. We launched a year ago, August 5th, 2022, when we got our FDA registration. We have achieved $333,000 of annual run rate. We're across 204 entities, 600 users, 11,000 clients screened, and we're in 35 states. A little bit of bragging of some of the logos that we have, and our pipeline is about 7 million. And I'll leave you with this. We had a prominent orthopedic surgeon who's also an entrepreneur take a look at KinoTek. I think he'll be a future investor. He said KinoTek has developed a core metric. It should be the foundation for every movement analysis. So that's our story.
Great. You almost exactly nailed the time. Well done. So any questions for Pat? And maybe to just get started, I see, oh, Bobby's applauding, but can you tell us a little bit about where you're going from here and how maybe this group can help, provide resources or connections?
Sure. So I'm going to say hello to David, right? David joined. He's he was the 3D obsessed biomedical engineer at the VEMI lab. So where we're going is we just did a nice raise of about 2.3 million. Shout out to MTI for doing some matching funds for us. We're still waiting. In fact, while I was here, Matt Hoffner called me. So hopefully it's good news. So what we're targeting is to reach 1 million ARR as our first big milestone, because other venture capital funds, I think some of you know this, they won't even look at you unless you get to 1 million ARR. And so we want to get there as fast as we can. And what we need is we need just the goodwill of the entrepreneurial community in Maine has been fantastic. But if you know somebody who is in the fitness space or in physical therapy, send them our way. We'll take all the business. And then we are always looking for investors, like-minded investors. And I'll just go ahead and put it out there. We have an open board seat, and we're looking for a great leader to come in and be on our board.
Great, thanks, Pat. Any other questions for Pat from the rest of the group? Bobby, go ahead.
I'm a big fan, Pat. Well, I'm going to just put it out there. The investor piece that I did not have the adequate answer for, so if you could put the words in my mouth, how can you explain why you don't need the reimbursement piece for this business to work?
So we could and do go after the reimbursement piece as a part of what we're doing, but our sweet spot right now, remember we're a startup, is physical therapy is under a lot of pressure right now because insurance sucks, right? They don't get paid enough. And so they are diversifying, all of the companies are diversifying into cash-based services or differentiating themselves to win in crowded markets with a better client experience. And so we're targeting fitness, sports, and the sports-minded physical therapists out there that are working with athletes and teams and have cash-based businesses. So, for us to get to 5 million or 10 million, or I would say even 30 million, there's plenty of business out there in those markets before we have to overcome the hurdle of insurance reimbursement. Not that we won't do it, we're doing that, but we're going the fast route first. Does that answer your question?
Great. Any other questions? Trying to make sure I can see everybody's screen. Well, just one other from me, Pat. Do you have any plans? So right now you're exclusively B2B. Do you see down the line, is there any chance of also offering a B2C product, or is that something you've envisioned or discussed?
Well, so one of the very exciting things that we're developing is the ability to do these kinds of screens accurately off of any device. And what is, we've targeted B2B, however, the experience is really B2B2C. And we've enhanced that experience. And so we're working on having access for clients or patients to be able to access their own reports and data. And you could imagine that I don't think we would ever, and this is a highly influenced by my experience in animal health and working with veterinarians, I don't think we would go around the professionals ever, I don't think. But certainly a component of it would be probably an app that if you want to participate and see your reports personally, that you would find us in the App Store for that component of it.
As a follow-up, do you know of any, if Apple or anyone is looking into incorporating the LiDAR into the iPhone?
Well, I think the phones already have LiDAR,
Oh.
and the whole health space is very crowded with literally hundreds of thousands of fitness apps. And so that's why we pivoted to say, let's go after the professionals, because honestly, they were being neglected. And so others can try, but we're going to go the supporting the professionals route.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Pat. Appreciate the time. And at the end of the meeting, we're going to create more breakout rooms and we'll plop you in one. And if anybody wants to come and chat more, they're welcome to join you there.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, Liz, let me know that it looks like the DutchPot slide she has available and is able to share. So Tamika, are you okay going now?
I am. Thank you so much, Tom.
Perfect. Liz, you're muted.
Do you want to try sharing one last time just so that you would have control? But if not, I've got your slides up and can do them for you.
I'm going to trust you more and I trust my system, Liz.
Okay, got it.
How about that?
That's
I'm
fine.
seeing the share option on my end, but if you go ahead, that would be amazing. That way.
That's fine. Let's see here. And I will go to slideshow. Does that look like what people want it to look like?
Yep, full screen mode.
Okay, and maybe you can just
One
wave,
slide back, please.
maybe you can just wave at me every time you want.
I'll just say next.
Okay, great.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank
And
you.
I'm starting the timer now.
Thanks, Tom. So technology will humble you, right? So speaking of humility, I'll start by telling my own story. I grew up in Jamaica as a Caribbean kid to parents and grandparents who were in the food sector always as farmers, fisher folks. My matriarchal family, my mom's parents, they're from the community that invented jerk that's global now. And so that's where I started my own work. I have worked for the last 2 decades as a food entrepreneur in various ways, from working with fisher folk and farmers and permaculture practitioners in the Eastern Caribbean across 8 islands to here in Boston and the New England area, teaching, cooking, writing in the food space. And so for me, food entrepreneurship is my lived experience, but also my trained experience. So with that, I do want to tell my story. So I'm Tamika, co-founder of DutchPot, alongside with Will. Next slide, please. DutchPot is the infrastructure that empowers food entrepreneurship. We're a B2B startup solution to make it simpler and easier to operate a solo food business that's backed by passion. We are building the back-end tools. They, the food entrepreneurs, are the experts. Next slide. We're starting with a pesky task of permitting and licensing. As a public health practitioner, I understand it. Yup, culinary compliance is important, but that's just the start. Our big vision and growth strategy is to democratize the culinary industry, enabling micro entrepreneurs who live in all our communities to connect and collaborate and access an even larger market share. But here's the problem. Next slide. You know that food truck you enjoy? Yes, that one on the promenade, right? That delicious one. On average, there are about 45 different government procedures for that sushi or that taco truck to get on the road. Food permits, insurances, yes, they keep everyone safe. They're needed, we get it. But in Maine alone, there are about 10 to 20 different forms for a single truck to get going. Many of these entrepreneurs are immigrant, refugee, or small mom and pops and volunteers who just want to get their food on the road. 75% of these forms need the same information across 3 government departments that are different. Depending on the kind of food you make and where you sell it, this process can take up to 6 months. No, we're not taking on the government. We're trying to build a more efficient way to manage and get entrepreneurs through the system. Next. How does this work? So our plan, next slide. Our plan is to build an easy to use mobile-friendly questionnaire that asks basic questions and allows images for insurance and food permits for your average food entrepreneur. Next slide. Once that's done, DutchPot takes care of the rest. You have access to pre-completed licensing form tailored for your business and for your location. With one click, a business can apply to food festival, commercial kitchens, and all your paperwork is ready to go in a mobile-friendly manner. With reminders, renewals, so you're in compliance, but in the way that you work, mobile-friendly. Next. We're powered by NLP and advanced form analysis tech, so the same information can be scaled across different markets, starting in Portland, Maine. Next slide. In 2022, the US food truck market was valued at $1.2 billion. Next slide, please. And it's grown by 13.7% in the last 5 years. One more slide. By 14.7% in the last 5 years. Similarly, next slide, the catering market has grown by 11.4% alone in the last few years and is estimated to continue on that trend, especially post-COVID. We want to empower entrepreneurs to tap into this growing market and opportunity. So why now? Next slide. The opportunity is huge. Yes, there are several platforms that serve the consumers. You know them, the DoorDashes, but there are very few platforms that cater to food entrepreneurs to sell in the way that they want to. They tend to use a hodgepodge of back-end tools that's not tailored to the way they work in a mobile-friendly way. Also, nationally, food policies keep changing and opening up new markets across cities. Yet entrepreneurs do not know where to start on this journey. Next. Fork Food Lab, for example, right here in Portland, has seen a 300% increase in demand for their shared kitchen space. And as you know, they have a new, larger facility. This is why we worked with them for the last year to build out our first MVP as our first strategic partner with Fork Food Lab. Next slide. So why us? Both Will and I share a passion for food and community. As an entrepreneur, as a private caterer, operator, and culinary educator, I have lived this experience. Will has decades of experience in the food and tech space, has worked with small design shops as well as large brands such as McCormick, and we've both seen the same challenge.
We just so you're aware, we just hit 5 minutes. So if you think we'll wrap up in the next 30 seconds.
Thank you. We'd like to connect with folks, and we've already been doing so. I see some faces here that are familiar in the Maine space, in Portland, Maine in particular, who are excited about food festivals, food entrepreneurship, and seeing players in this small food space continue to win. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So I'll start with kind of the same question I asked the last presenter, which is, looking at this group, what are next steps for you, and how can we help facilitate them?
Sure. Thanks for the space, Tom, and thanks, Liz, as you're outgoing. So we've been in the space for the last year or so. We've had some pause and some hiccups. We've been learning the space. Fork Food Lab has been our major partner in the learning space. And for us right now is talking to more food entrepreneurs, understanding how they work. We have talked with the government side of things, I think, trying to understand how entrepreneurs are navigating the daily shift in policies and shifting climate in the food space. So many folks in this space, MTI and others, do work with entrepreneurs, and we're trying to get more of an audience to continue to speak and learn from those consumers. So we're very consumer focused.
Great. And if anybody else has questions, feel free to just raise your hand or unmute. And while we're waiting for that, I had two more on my own end. One is business model wise, is it a subscription model? And do folks tend to only pay for it at the start when they're looking to get that accreditation, or is it something that's kind of ongoing throughout the lifetime of a food truck? I'll start with it, just that one.
No worries, great question. So subscription model, primarily right now, because of how our food policies work, attached to a commercial kitchen. So entrepreneurs, if they are in this space, must be attached to and licensed with a commercial facility. So through that, there are other players in the space who tend to serve the facility. Not very many serve the entrepreneur who may work in a facility, may move on to a brick and mortar, or might decide to have their own space. But it does go membership with the entrepreneur as they may continue throughout their process to keep re-upping their compliance checks as they apply for different opportunities.
Great, thank you. I think Bobby and then Jason.
Hi, Tamika.
Hi, Bobby. So good to see you.
Good to see you. I was wondering if anything's going on around food tourism.
That's a great question. I'm not seeing Shay, but some folks, we've been having some conversation in the food tourism space, trying to understand how pop-ups may also fit within this realm as folks who are hosting pop-ups, on-site dining. I mean, the food space has become super creative in this post-COVID era. So we've been having some conversation with folks in that space who do on-site tours to different either farms or agriculture spaces. Great idea. Thank you. We're still navigating those spaces as well. Thanks.
Thanks for your presentation there, Tamika. Just thinking about the access to the other parts of the state, there's an interest in a shared commercial kitchen in Bangor that the city of Bangor is potentially standing up. What does it look like for you to think about expanding to engage with other parts of the state and entrepreneurs?
Thanks, Jason. Great question. Two things come to mind. We have had an introduction through Fork to that space. They were super early when we started the conversation. They were not there yet. They were just building up plans. But I think this application is great for rural locations. I do know between Augusta and other spaces, folks are traveling to get permits and licenses done. So it's mobile-friendly application, I think, would be an amazing offer for rural or more remote spaces, including Bangor. Thanks. Tom, I can see you moving. It looks amazing what you're saying.
It was
Thanks.
amazing. No, I just saying, you touched on this briefly, but I'd love to understand a little bit more about, given that regulations and policies vary so much municipality to municipality, state to state, how do you plan to kind of be able to expand and scale nationally?
Yeah, so Will, not here, but he has been doing some analysis. And again, for the most part, license and permits are premised on public health, right, as keeping folks safe. So we recognize that across very many states, New England in particular is where we're starting, from the Boston area, Massachusetts and others. They're somewhat similar. We do know that each state or jurisdiction has a little bit of a difference in terms of how they approach it, but we do recognize there is space for universal style applications could meet the needs of each state, but also have enough space to be nuanced enough for that state's needs. So it will take some, I like to say, encouragement, I think perhaps from the entrepreneurs themselves to recognize that this works for them, and perhaps having that reflect in how states may shift or be willing to be more flexible.
Great. And then I think we have time for one last question. So Lisa, go ahead.
Hi, I know with food trucks, particularly in the Bangor area, there's a lot of zoning that happens. And do you have resources available to help the entrepreneurs that are mobile navigate those sorts of barriers that they might not even think of?
The short answer is we have very little by way of resources, but I think spaces like that or those kind of nuanced conversation will help us to know how to build for more rural locations or audiences that are not city-centric or perhaps less resourced. I'd be curious if it's okay with you to keep following up with you on the Bangor. It sounds like you have some context for Bangor. I'd be curious.
Yeah, we actually own a commercial property, but food trucks aren't allowed there, I found out when I asked. So yeah, I would be happy to share my knowledge and give you introductions however I can.
I'll make a note for you and Jason, if that's okay. I'm not sure if it's a space to make that ask to follow up with you both for Bangor.
Well, also, again, at the end of the meeting, we'll create breakout rooms. So if you all want to just hop into a breakout room, feel free.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. I think we're on to Scratchpad now. So Jason and Lisa, if you're ready to share.
Sure, and I'm going to just share our website. Tried to make it accessible. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
so
starting the timer.
All right, fantastic. So excited to be here. Scratchpad has been around since 2015 when we started the first seed accelerator in New England, north of Boston. We've worked with a bunch of different cohorts, including KinoTek back in 2019 and others on this call, which is great. And in the course of the recent access to some money administered through MTI and the Prime Fund, we were able to engage in thinking about focusing on a new cohort for this year. And so we're focused on agriculture, aquaculture, value-added food production and food tech companies. And we are running an accelerator program in the style of like a Techstars or a Y Combinator, starting later this fall or early in the spring, depending on what fits the need of our cohort. So we're intentionally curating cohorts over the next couple of years focused in these areas, and really trying hard to focus on how we meet the needs of achieving these kind of 4 major outcomes. And so just wanted to share these 4 and talk a little bit about what that experience looks like. So as an accelerator, we run a 13-week program. We've leveraged what we have seen work really well in other communities and built the accelerator around the model that Village Capital was using, with a intense on-site boot camps in weeks 1, 7, and 13, and then remote participation so that we can support the needs of entrepreneurs from throughout the state. We connect entrepreneurs that participate to one another, as well as to our community, the MxG community and entrepreneurial support community, but also specific communities that are of value to the companies. We connect them to customers, partners, suppliers, advisory board members, and others, and have a very curated and specifically designed mentorship program that aims to provide direct mentorship around the things that are of the greatest need to the entrepreneur. So we take a very focused approach to mentorship, and have been in conversations with MCE about ways in which we can collaborate around mentor networks, et cetera. And then ultimately, we provide an opportunity to pitch to investors. We believe in the value of supporting entrepreneurs that are building scalable businesses. So our target market is the company that wants to be national or international in scope. And oftentimes that means raising capital, not necessarily venture capital, although that is certainly one way that we have really built a lot of support in the past, by making sure that people are perfecting their pitches and connecting with Maine's venture capital community, many of whom are on the call here today, which is exciting. And our hope is to be able to engage these entrepreneurs, help them to ameliorate their challenges, and find ways to accelerate their success. Historically, entrepreneurs have told us that participating in the program has helped them, move their company forward 3 years and 3 months, and that's what we aim to do, is just really meet the needs. We are economic development oriented, which is important only in so much as we don't have investments in the companies other than our time, energy, effort, and passion. So we're not running this as an investment fund, but we operate on the basis of serving the entrepreneurs in every way that we can. We encourage participants to apply from all over the state. We've tried to make this geographically friendly for the state, and to engage those companies in any one of those segments, and try and make this as accessible as humanly possible. We're building robust partnerships with Maine's entrepreneurial support ecosystem, including MCE, but also the University of Maine and other places. And we're excited to be coming back after a little break there for COVID, and jumping into supporting more entrepreneurs this year. And we're happy to take questions.
No, it's more or less perfect timing. Well done. Any questions for Jason or Lisa? And while folks are pondering, in terms of kind of your geographic reach, are you primarily serving businesses directly in Bangor, or kind of the UMaine Orono area, or do you find that you're kind of have businesses coming from all across northern Maine?
Historically, we have had companies come from all over the state, with the preponderance have been just by number, because we know where the entrepreneurs have come from southern Maine. So KinoTek came up from southern Maine. We've had people, a number of participants that come up, which is why we've built the program in the way that we've built it, so that we do have intense on-site boot camps where we pay for the lodging for people. We provide all of that, but we're not asking you to relocate for 13 weeks to Bangor. And indeed, we're working with our founding corporate partner, Bangor Savings Bank, to explore hosting at least one night, if not a whole week, down in the Portland area, recognizing that we have to serve the entrepreneurs all over the state and connect them into the entrepreneurial networks that are going to help them succeed So definitely not Northern Maine focused, not Bangor focused, all of Maine focused.
Great, thanks, Jason. Bobby.
Hi, quiet crowd today, so I'm just taking the opportunity to jump in. Very excited to see this coming back. 2019 cohort was amazing. I just want to emphasize the fact that you do not take an equity stake, because that really does differentiate you from other accelerators, and it's a fantastic deal for the startup. So glad to see you back.
Yeah, and I will thanks Bobby, and Bobby came up and listened and gave feedback to the companies and did an amazing job. One of the things that we're really proud of is being able to invite Maine Venture Fund and the Maine Angels and CEI and anybody we can get kind of in the funding community to come in and provide feedback on the pitches, panel style, very friendly, but very real feedback about what it is that these entrepreneurs are gonna see as they go out and pursue funding. And so that is something that we're really passionate about supporting.
Jason, on that note, you mentioned that part of the program is to connect these companies with investors. Are they primarily kind of Maine-based investors, or are they folks from all over the region or country? Or
we have tended to connect them mostly with Maine-based investors. We have seen generally earlier stage companies, and so they are very much in the preparing for their really first non-friends and family round, where the Maine community is just incredible about providing support and being engaged. We do have networks nationally and regionally that we can connect into as appropriate, but certainly very passionate about taking on kind of a Maine economic development perspective, not to hold everything close, but to certainly invite Maine to participate, the whole ecosystem to participate in every way that it can, and then supporting the founders beyond that.
And then in terms of resources from this group, is there anything that MxG can do to help facilitate the program?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So two big things. One is certainly sourcing companies. So our application is open. We're doing individual reach outs and working with MCE. We're working really hard to cultivate the largest list of potential participants that we can get while we move down and build our cohort. And then the other thing is mentorship is critical to any accelerator. I will say, and this is a really fine point, I think it's important to Lisa and I, certainly philosophically, our approach to mentorship is not to ask you to come in and take on this huge lift, but instead to have very curated mentorship. So if a founder has a question about how to do digital marketing, in X, Y, and Z way, we want to find a marketing expert. We want to plug them in, do a very focused mentorship connection and build our mentorship pipeline that way, rather than kind of the entrepreneur in residence model. So anybody who's willing to mentor, and everyone on this call definitely can be a mentor, we would love to know that if you're willing, and we'll connect you as it makes sense.
Great, thanks, Jason.
There's a mentor
right.
application too on the website. So, so it's really easy to kind of get in there as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Lisa. All right. So I think next up, we've got the Maine Center for Entrepreneurs FoodTech program, and I believe it'll be Jason presenting.
That's right. You guys are in luck. Back-to-back Jason presentations. I'm Jason Mitchell. I'm the program manager for FoodTech Maine with Maine Center for Entrepreneurs. I'll also note we have Tom Rainey and Alex Shapiro on the line, my colleagues, and I'll give an overview of the program, but Tom and Alex, please feel free to weigh in if I miss anything. So FoodTech Maine is MCE's newest accelerator. We enter the family among a bunch of other successful programs that I'm sure you've all heard of, like Top Gun and Cultivator, et cetera. There's a whole portfolio of very well-established and successful accelerators. So we are in a position to learn from their experience and establish best practices. But we also want to differentiate ourselves, right? So FoodTech Maine is focused on food, but it specifically looks for companies that leverage technology innovation and science to accomplish their goals. It's a 6-month program thereabout. We are about a month into evaluating companies, seeking out companies. We had 91 companies come through our database that we've kind of brought down the business development funnel. So far, we've got 6 companies accepted into the program and 1 pending. We are transitioning right now into our assessment phase. In that phase, we'll better identify what the unique needs for each of the companies are. The 6-month curriculum is really thought to tailor to the unique needs of each of the companies. So that while there will be some generalist type curriculum, there's also going to be a section that meets each company's specific needs. We think that's especially relevant because in the technical space becomes more and more specialized. In the program, we're also going to leverage the mentorship network already established by MCE. We may need to bring in other mentors also, like Jason Harkins had mentioned, to accommodate the technical side of the program. At the end of the program, there's a culminating event that we're calling a showcase event, very similar to the Top Gun program, where we'll provide an audience of a full range of stakeholders, including investors, so that each of the companies can show off the good work that we're doing. I would offer that so far it's been really interesting to evaluate and meet all these different companies. There's so many exciting ideas and projects and companies in the state that are emerging. We'd love to take all of them, but we are trying to keep that narrow focus to be tech oriented. But there's clearly a trend of more and more companies that are looking to tech and innovation to help establish themselves and improve their product and process and meet their goals. So the program's been getting a lot of attention, good feedback. There's been some press, and now we're kind of evolving to a phase where people are contacting us. So with the 6 companies and 1 pending, our goal is to get to 8 to 12 companies, and we're looking to kick off the program mid-September. So we're a few weeks out from kicking off, although we do have a bit of a rolling admission type of an approach now, where we've already started working with the companies we've accepted to add value as soon as we can. Tom or Alex, I miss anything?
I would just echo what the other Jason said, and that is we're trying to connect the dots with his program, which also has an agri-food focus to it, so that we don't duplicate or compete unnecessarily. So we've got an MOU that we're hammering out right now that connects the dots between the 2 programs. And then we met with the Gulf of Maine Research Institute yesterday with Blaine Grimes to talk about the work that she's doing in the blue economy and how we can, again, try to navigate our way around so that we're not all piling in and trying to do the same kinds of things, but rather sort of dovetailing our programs to support one another and leverage each other's resources.
Great. Well, thank you both. I see that Joe's got his hand raised. So Joe, go ahead. Joe, you're on mute. I don't know if you're talking right now.
I don't see his lips moving. He might be frozen.
Pretty sure that's his
leftover hand up.
All right. Well, Joe, you're muted. So if you're talking, let's have Jennifer go.
Okay. Jason, I know you covered this, but can you give me a solid thinking of referrals? And so food tech, to me, I'm still trying to figure that out. So like an example without giving away like a business, so that we can think about who's a good fit.
Yeah, sure. And it is public, and it's already been published in the papers as to some of the companies that are in the cohort already. So I can give you specific examples. One company that we're really excited about is called Salmonics. They are seeking to harvest and repurpose salmon blood for pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and cosmetic type uses. So that one has a heavy biology and science type application. Let's see, another example would be everything seaweed. And then there is a handful of seaweed and mushroom companies type kind of forming, which is a unique connection. I think there's a lot to learn from the agri side of the business to the aqua side of the business. But Everything Seaweed is a new company establishing themselves in Maine. They bring a lot of experience, and their innovation is really centered around a biorefinery process with higher value add type applications for seaweed. And then just to kind of highlight a different dimension of technology, a lot of the companies that we're with are interested in how digital products and software can help accelerate their business.
Hi, Tom, can you guys hear me now? It's Joe.
Yep, Joe, you're good to go.
Sorry, good. I just wanted to say thank you to Tom, the Jasons, and everyone for weaving this together. I think they reached out early on to MTI a few months ago, and we've been feeding stuff in. And the first thing Tom said there, and I taught, in that meeting was, I'm going to be reaching out to Jason and the Upstart crew because we heard they were funded, and that is totally the spirit of what everybody wants here. So thank you so much for that. It's a great example. And the last question is, since some of us have been sending, leads and names to Jason South, Jason Upstart, how do you want those? Do you guys do you have a common list or just because all of us, it'd be great to be able to say if it's on one list, it'll likely get looked at on another list. Is that of leads, prospects?
I would say that, one reason we have clients already in the program is that we started this program earlier because we had a federal appropriation that we secured with Focus Maine through the SBA. So we were able to get our program up and running sooner. And that's why we already have clients in our program. So yeah, the MOU that we have right now that we're hammering out is to collaborate on a number of fronts. So sharing our mentor network and essentially looking at ways to sort of triage companies coming in to decide who's the best fit for that company. So far, they've just been coming pretty much to us because we were able to get the program off the ground quicker, as I mentioned.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just suggesting I offered to you guys and anybody, we would happy to throw someone over the wall to help you with that culling. But it's hard to say, okay, I know I sent these 3 leads to MCE. I should probably do the same thing to Scratchpad. My question is just, I wouldn't need to go through that exercise, right? You guys will share your pipeline list.
Yeah. Yes. And
okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're also going to be expanding, our Top Gun program into Northern Maine, and we've got some new partners where we'll be offering Top Gun. So we're planning to spend a lot more time in areas where, in the past we've had clients, but we haven't had a really super strong presence on the ground. So through our partner organizations, we'll have a lot more activity in that neck of the woods. So yeah, send them to us, and we will do the triage with Jason.
Super, thank you so much. That's awesome.
And thank you for the Prime grant. We appreciate that. So the idea we have is that
considering I didn't know it was even awarded until I met you guys. So thank you for applying.
No, so our plan is to use our federal appropriation, which is basically 2 years of funding, and then use the Prime grant when that runs out to give us more runway so we can operate this for a longer period of time, and it has more legs. And
thank you, Tom, and everyone. That was my question, and the more sharing, it's great to have you here. Thank you.
Tom and Jason, very quickly, what's the time commitment for entrepreneurs? I know it's a 6-month program, but week to week, is it kind of 40 hours, or is it on are folks doing it after? I'm just curious what sort of time commitment it is.
Yeah, because we're a new program, this is the first time through. It's just an estimate. We'll know more when we get through the assessments, but we're planning for 6 learning sessions, and then the culminating event at the end. The learning sessions could be 90 minutes to 2 hours each, and then there's some work to be done outside of the program. But the thought is that this is work that's in line with what the companies are already doing. So we hope that it's not an additional burden, and it's more helpful than additional work.
Great, thanks.
Add one thing, Tom, and that is
Yes.
in December, we're going to be, we have a life sciences program that we had funded through EDA, and we're still operating that. So every year we put on this Life Sciences Venture Summit, and the one we're planning for December is going to be focused around where the life sciences and the food industry intersect. So we're going to be connecting the dots between two of the things that we're working on right now, which should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Great. And then I see another Tom Ruff in the chat asked if this also applies to beverage companies as well.
It does, yes.
Great. And feel free to connect in those networking rooms after this meeting. So I think that wraps up all of the different presentations we had scheduled for today. So we did want to just create a space for anybody who has an organizational announcement that they wanted to share with the rest of MxG. Anything that we haven't covered today, feel free to just raise your hand and share your updates.
Tom, I have I just have a quick question. Is anybody in organizations, work in innovation, entrepreneurship, all that, working on any type of current strategic plan or engaging in that over the next few months? Okay, thanks. Just doing a quick poll.
August in Maine is a tough time to be taking on a strategic plan in my experience. Obi, I see your hands up.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Obino Okani. I am the Executive Director for Entrepreneurship for All here in Maine. I wanted to bring up that we have our first pitch contest happening in Lewiston, Maine in October 4th this year. And more information will be coming out in the next few days, and I'll be sure to send over the information to the MxG team.
And is that targeting any specific kind of size of company, stage, or it's still kind of being ironed out?
Yeah, so honestly, what the types of entrepreneurs we're looking for, all industries, very startup, based. If it's from ideation to 1 year in existence, we encourage anyone who has just ideas in terms of a business or wants to get their businesses from 0 to 1. The pitch contest is for them.
Great, thanks. And Liz, I imagine you captured that in the notes. Perfect. Any other announcements for the group? All right, it doesn't look like it. So I think from here, we're going to create some breakout rooms with all the presenters. Folks are welcome to hop into those. Liz is going to create those. Otherwise, thanks for coming this month, and we'll be doing this again in September, and look forward to seeing everyone then.